has uncovered a 2006 study written for the U.S. Special Operations Command that suggests the military should clandestinely recruit or hire prominent bloggers. The report stated, quote, hiring a block of bloggers to verbally attack a specific person or promote a specific message may be worth considering. The report also suggested the Pentagon hack blogs that promote messages that are antithetical to U.S. interests. The report stated, quote, hacking the site and subtly changing the messages and data, merely a few words or phrases, may be sufficient to begin destroying the blogger's credibility with the audience.
The average American would be so shocked to find out there's something called Cointelpro, the FBI's covert action programs against American citizens. Now, this Senate report tells what the FBI was doing against the American citizens, literally. Here's their statement. Cointelpro began in 1956, in part because of the frustration with the Supreme Court rulings limiting the government's power to proceed overtly against dissident groups. It ended in 1971 with the threat of public exposure. The Bureau conducted, their terms, a sophisticated vigilante operation aimed squarely at preventing the exercise of First Amendment rights of speech and association.
Cointelpro, where they had targeted thousands and thousands of people for investigation based upon no violation of the law, just hunches and suspicions, where they were tracking down Martin Luther King, who had committed no crimes, but they were tapping him, they were covering him, they were on his case all the time, and they were trying to dismantle him as a leader of the civil rights movement. But the fact that this could happen in America, this nation of laws and accountability, and happen over so many years. Presidents of both political parties were involved in this. It was a bipartisan thing, and there was a lot of this that the agencies had to explain that were the result, directly or indirectly, of pressure from above. Yes, we were surprised.
The FBI set out to neutralize the Black Panther Party any way they could.
Cointelpro was doing its mischief in attempting to pit the two organizations against each other. It got to the points where there was clearly almost a state of war that was existing between the two organizations.
The FBI had created this tension, but you had these two groups that, when they saw each other on the street, it was just a natural confrontation.
Correspondence propaganda between the two, telling one that the other one was doing something that wasn't appropriate.
Well, I felt pretty bad because most of it was really crap. It was a waste of time. We destroyed a lot of lives, and I always deny that, but
New York City Police Department had infiltrated the Panther 21, and the highly publicized, highly touted trial of 21 members of the Panther Party for allegedly plotting to blow up department stores turned out to be a total hype, entire harassment, entrapment by the FBI, where it was revealed that FBI agents had infiltrated the Panthers, and the people behind any ideas of a plot to blow up anything were all government agents.
It's been revealed that incendiary blogger and radio host Hal Turner was an FBI informant and agent provocateur. Turner is being charged with making death threats against Connecticut legislators and Illinois judges, and he has to claim that his actions were legal because he did the same when employed by the FBI. Prosecutors have acknowledged that Turner was an informant who spied on radical right-wing organizations. But Turner went much further than spying. He also called for former Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney to be lynched. McKinney responded to the news saying, quote, "It has just now come to my attention that a journalist who suggested that I be lynched was actually being paid by our own government to say that. Now, when I reported it to the FBI, how in the world was I to know that he was at that time on the FBI's payroll?"
Boston-based activist named Brandon Darby has revealed he worked as an FBI informant in the 18 months leading up to the Republican convention.
Brandon was obviously living a double life, so the discord and aggression and violence and abuse are real. I experienced it personally. But we know that he has showed up at every important organization in this area. He has showed up in the immigrant rights organizations, in the refugee organizations, in the prison organizations, in the anti-war organizations.
When we started Common Ground, Brandon was right here But I knew from the very beginning that the Homeland Security had infiltrated us. I knew that when I realized that to be critical of FEMA response or the aftermath of Katrina, we took upon the wrath of Homeland Security. I was looking at it coming from many different ways, but God knows I didn't think it would be from Brandon.
Big cleanup is underway after another riot broke out last night during a protest against police brutality. Any message organizers had was quickly lost amid the damage and debris that put the actions of some protesters, not the police, in the spotlight.
Protest organizers called people to the streets to complain about police brutality. 221 people were arrested. They're blaming police for provoking the protesters and then going overboard. Police make massive arrests for nothing, this man says. Instead of targeting the main people, they grab everyone.
They want us to be aggressive with them. Put the rock down. I'm not going to stop. Chicken shit. Take your mask off. You're a fucking cop. Free of you. It's a peaceful demonstration. They're going sorry. This is These three guys are cops, everybody. Put the rock down, cop. Police, come on, let's see your face. Come on, police. Let's see your face. It's not gonna help. It's not gonna help. Come on, cop, and then go another way.
Wait, what's happening, Kiki?
Okay, those two people are trying to hold the sign. She's standing in front of it, so she's blocking it. She's pissed. See? See that?
Oh, that's what it says.
What does it say? No planes?
Yeah.
Hit World Trade Center.
The drama here?
What is the drama?
This guy's name is Nico, and his friend Ryan, they're provocateurs. That guy was wearing a dinosaur outfit, a full lizard dinosaur outfit, holding a no planes hit the building sign. So, and standing with our group, trying to make it look like he was with us. So their job is, and I don't know who's paying them, but their job, self-appointed or otherwise, is to make the 9/11 truth movement look crazy.
I'm recording everything.
Yes, don't make exclusive. No, you know how much less fucking suffering that we got. Anything I stop. You fucking touch me? Don't fucking touch me! Get your hands off!
I didn't do it. How much is your soul worth? It's more worth than yours. How much? Rainbow. Hey, you're not serious questions.
Who's paying me?
Hey,
Hey, back that shit up right now. Where's the best? You ever touch me again, fire his thing on again.
Hey, I'd like to press assault charges. They're ignoring me.
We showed him the video of the guy assaulting me. I said I wanted to press assault charges. Excuse me! Excuse me!
I just stepped up to them to ask them what was going on, and they just walked away from me again. By law, they should have that man in handcuffs. We have the video evidence of him assaulting someone. I lodged a complaint. We have witnesses. I said I want him taken away for assault. Nothing was done. The police just ignored me and just walked away.
Sources in America from the State Department and the CIA have confirmed that payments were made to a group in Libya that was associated with Osama bin Laden.
No, your inalienable rights come from God, and no one can force you to contract into the laws of England or the laws of Britain. You only have one allegiance, and that is to God and His chosen one. And I am, of course, that chosen one. I am the Lord Jesus Christ, and I now welcome you to the end times.
Cointelpro stands for Counterintelligence Program, primarily run by the FBI as a covert action program against domestic dissidents. The use of infiltration, psychological warfare, harassment through the legal system and the use of extralegal force and violence began in the 1950s and is now a permanent feature of U.S. government. Targets included the civil rights movement, the anti-war movement, opposition political parties, and basically any progressive group in American society.
You also were active in the infiltration of many cultural groups. Before we go into that step by step, how much research and study did the FBI engage in of black culture in the late 60s?
A great amount.
Give me an idea.
From the thing is, I can, they have a file on every type of magazine that blacks read. They have a file on the music.
Music?
Music, dance, theater, actors, comedians, you name it, man.
And they would actually study these different...
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely.
What would they do with music?
To understand the people, you have to understand the culture. To infiltrate, you have to understand. You had a lot of so-called white liberals that were infiltrating the so-called black groups using the information that they had gathered from the studies of blacks.
You mean just to understand the behavior pattern of our people?
Oh, yeah. I can, you know, Will Heaton could name out some jams of Miles Davis that I hadn't even heard of. He could name off some books that I hadn't even read pertaining to black culture.
Do you ever see agents actually studying the music of...
Yes, yes. Yes, I've seen them going over even video portion of cultural events. The understanding, like when, okay, you have an organization like Leroy Jones' Black House. You remember that? Okay, Leroy Jones's place, which was done on the thing of tribalism. That's where I first heard the word Kintu, Mantu, Huntu, Hintu. These words of the African continuum. You know, I learned that from an agent. He ran it down to me. They make in-depth studies of the personalities of the people they're dealing with too, culturally. It always helps when you. It's a thing of you can take their culture and use it against them.
How large would you say an extensive collection on our culture would you say the FBI has? Would you rate it as large as a particular library, like the Schomburg Library in Harlem? Or
I would rate it better. I would rate it better, and the fact is that they go into details that we probably would overlook. Will Heaton used to meet me in different places. You know, Will Heaton, that was one of my supervising agents. There is a certain bar in the Los Angeles area where people into black cultural things met, and Will Heaton used to meet me there. And he would go into very long and tiring conversations with some very articulate brothers about culture, African culture, and Afro-American culture.
Tell me about some of the cultural organizations that you infiltrated and what you did.
PASLA, Mafunde, Watts Writers Workshop, which they had.
The Watts Writers Workshop?
Yes. Watts Writers Workshop, which was one of the oldest established black shop.
That place was burned down.
Yeah. The Bureau had it burnt down.
How do you know that?
I know because I participated. I did the arson.
You burned down the Watts Writers?
Yes.
Why did they want it to go?
At the time, funding had been cut to the workshop, had been cut out, but it looked like there was a possibility of a grant being given back to the workshop. And if there was no theater, there would be no grant.
How did you do it?
2 cans of kerosene, Purex bottle, gasoline, and a flare, highway flare.
Why didn't you use more sophisticated stuff?
Oh, no. No. You're never overly sophisticated. It's too obvious. This way you make it look like, you know, maybe somebody in the neighborhood that got kicked out of the theater at one time got mad and came and burned the damn theater up, that kind of thing.
But you were involved in this theater? I mean, did it get to you at all what you were?
Hey, man, that got to me a great deal. I love that theater. I built the stage.
You built the stage?
Oh, yeah. When I got to the workshop, the stage that had been, the original stage that had been built needed an extension on it. The original part of the stage was in terrible condition. They had no lighting system. I put the lighting system in myself. I put the stage in myself. And that was a stage, man. And that was a theater. It's a nice theater.
Who was the director of that workshop?
Harry Dolan.
Harry Dolan. Some very, very well-known artists supported that workshop, gave money to it.
Some very well-known artists came out of the Watts Writers Workshop. You know, Glenn Tubman, Yaphet Kotto. Sidney Poitier used to come down there and give a class. Sammy Davis Jr. used to come down there all the time. Quincy Jones used to come there and give music classes. We had our own 8-track studio setup for sound. We had our own sound room there.
Was part of your other activities and responsibilities to study the profiles of celebrities who were supportive of organizations?
Definitely, and especially, like I said, psychological backgrounds, weaknesses and strengths. Did he have a weakness for blondes? Did he have a weakness for money? Did he snort cocaine? Did he smoke marijuana? They even get into, oh, and that's one thing the Bureau loves is their sexual background. They have files and files on different blacks, not only celebrities, but a lot of others, sexual activity.
What would they do with this information?
Oh, that's used as a weakness.
So they would feed to these weaknesses?
Yes.
Did you see that happen?
Oh, yes. Doc Holliday, who is one of the leaders of the BGF, Black Guerrilla Family, which is a prison gang in the California state prison system. Upon his release from prison, a certain sister made herself known to him at a nightclub, whereupon he moved in with her, and she picked up names, telephone numbers, information, you know, that kind of thing. That lasted for a good 3.5 months.
Was this an unusual thing, or did this happen often?
No, that happens all the time.
Did you yourself get involved in doing that?
Yes.
Give me an example.
There was a gentleman that was on trial in Los Angeles that belonged to the BLA that had been busted in a southern state for a bank robbery, but was brought with 2 other people to Los Angeles to stand trial for the machine gunning of a police officer in Los Angeles. I was supposed to worm my way into the affections of his sister and whatever it took to get the information that I needed as far as what kind of defense they planned to use as to turn this information over to the federal prosecution.
Did you do it?
I got the information, and thank God I didn't have to go through with the actual thing of sexual activity.
What do you mean, thank God?
The sister was rather unappealing.
How did you justify to the organizations in which you had infiltrated yourself that you were living on an $800 a week stipend or on an $800 a week standard of living when most of them were living hand to mouth.
Well, hey, brother, I'm hustling, I mean, hey, man, so a little this on the side, a little that on the side, I get over, that kind of thing. In other words, ain't nobody's business but mine where I get the money. So, everybody took it for granted that I was possibly doing a little dealing on the side. That kind of thing. Then also, everybody liked me for the simple reason that I would do things that I didn't have to do. I would go out of my way. Like Mafunde would have a pageant and they needed someone to do the sound setup for him, and I'd say, of course, I'll do it for you, that kind of thing. I was very well liked at one time in the community.
Would you say to American citizens that this situation of surveillance and infiltration continues to this day?
Oh, yes.
On the dimension that you experienced?
Probably much larger by now.
Larger?
Oh, yeah. Let me put it to you like this. Each year, everything gradually escalated up more and more. So I figure when I left, it didn't stop escalating. As they say, one monkey does not stop anybody's show.
You mentioned Sammy Davis Jr., who at one time, it was reported, gave money to the Black Panther Party, I believe. Were you ever assigned to look into that?
Yes, I was told to try to get as close to Mr. Davis or to anyone in his office as I could. I used to go up and have real chit-chat, chummy conversation with his personal secretary, Ann, at the 9000 building on Sunset. And I used to bring a Portapac video camera, and I used to go around and I would videotape the whole office.
You mean celebrities would be coming into his office and you'd film them freely?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't they question that?
I'm from the Ross Writers Workshop. Yeah, right on, brother, that kind of thing. No questions asked. Same thing with the NAACP Image Awards. They were very interested in people like Sammy Davis Jr. There was another black in Los Angeles that they were very interested in because, not Los Angeles, but in Sacramento, Nathaniel Colley, who's attorney for the NAACP. And I know Nat. And they wanted information on him, just for the simple reason that he's an attorney for the NAACP, which makes no sense to me, but must make a lot of sense to them because they use the information.
You've been called upon to testify in Washington. Before who?
Before the Senate Committee. I was called first to testify before the Church Committee, and I did go to Washington, D.C. I did testify to those people, and I want to say right now that the committee was full of smack. They got loads and loads of information and didn't even use it, didn't release it. I had tapes that I offered to them in evidence against the Federal Bureau of Investigation with conversations of me and my supervising officers where he's telling me to obtain certain articles for him by stealing. Don't get fingerprints on it. We can really use that. Did you take the weapons over to such and such? The Churches Committee told me that they couldn't use the tapes because the tapes were gotten by illegal means.
What would you say about the composition of the committee panel that questioned you?
I can say that's for the birds too, because the same people that I was talking about were the same people on the panel with the Churches Committee.
What do you mean?
When I came in the room to be interviewed by the so-called people from the Churches Committee, the representatives from the Federal Bureau of Investigations were also in the room.
FBI agents were a member of the Church Committee panel?
They were there with the investigators for the Churches Committee asking questions just like the Churches Committee. And see, this is another thing that I find fault with, and this is another reason why I am not going to Washington, D.C., is that, again, I have been asked to come again for the second time. I'm not going again. For the simple reason that when I went up there with the idea that there were agencies investigating the Federal Bureau of Investigation, not the Federal Bureau of Investigation investigating itself.
You're on the lam, almost. Do you have a sense that you're going to be arrested and go to prison?
Oh yeah, eventually. Eventually, when things come to a head, it has to. Has to be that way. No other way around it.
What would you say to citizens who sit and listen to what you've said and have a sense of frustration and helplessness?
There are some agents, the old line agents, that disagree with the tactics that were used during the so-called Cointelpro period. But one thing I don't want us to jump off of is that people always talk about, they're talking about Cointelpro now so heavily. I'm not talking about Cointelpro, I'm talking about a thing called BD, which was better known as Black Death.
I'm a Jew, he a Jew, she a Jew, we some Jews, wouldn't you like to be a Jew too? Only if you're in the bloodline. Yup. It's your boy. O to the D to the, you know. Now, excuse me, I am smoking on a cigarette right now, so, you know. But anyway, Cointelpro is like well, you saw the video, but they monitored the Black Panthers, they monitored it was started back in the days because of racism. Keep it 5,000, that's what they don't want to tell you. But it started because of racism, and they wanted to stop black people and any other immigrant group. So, you know, they came out with Cointelpro to invade, spy, keep tabs on. And the bad part to the whole situation is they play it like it never happened. You know, they play it like it's not declassified. It makes no sense for that to have happened. In America, there's a whole lot of secrets that happened in America and nobody got brought to justice for. Nobody cared about. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm exposing it, man. It's your boy D. You saw the movie. Crazy Crew Entertainment, man. Crew or Die videos, and ain't nothing after that. You dig, you beezies. That's your whole ass.